Hi, and welcome to the show. Subscribe at kevinmd.com/podcast. Today, we welcome back Laura Sutton. She's a physician, executive, and coach. Today's Kevin MD article is Why the 4 a.m. Wake Up Call Isn't for Everyone. Laura, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here with you.
All
Thanks for
right,
having me.
so tell us about this latest article about why you wrote it in the first place, and then the article itself for those who didn't get a chance to read it.
Yeah, the article is really about how I had this insight that certain pieces of advice or certain things that we might be encouraged to do to help with our well-being just aren't for everybody. It's not a one size fits all. I noticed this for myself and for my clients, the physician clients that I work with in my coaching capacity, that there was this tendency to really kind of latch on to what's the latest and greatest, what is it that I need to be successful, and this ethos out there about, well, I have to wake up early, I have to get everything done that I need to get done before the rest of the world wakes up. I tried that for myself and it didn't work for me, and I've had clients that have tried that as well and didn't work for them. So I just it was an insight that I had, and I wanted people to feel safe and okay to give themselves permission to buck these trends.
Now, for those physicians who hear advice about waking up early at 4 a.m., where are they getting that advice from? Do they find it from CEOs, executives who say you have to get up at 4 a.m.? Where are they getting this advice from in the first place?
Well, there are a lot of social media influencers, of course, who talk about it, and there's a lot of productivity books and hacks that are out there that talk about waking up early. And I had leaders within my own organization that I knew were up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, emailing, working. And so I saw that example modeled for me, not in everybody, but in enough people that it felt like, well, I'm going to get behind if I'm not waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so that's where it came from for me. I hear that from my clients too, is like, well, everybody says that I need to wake up that early in order to be successful. And so the article was just to say that's not necessary.
So tell us more about your experience. You said that you tried it in the past and it didn't quite work out for you. So tell us what happened.
Right. So one of my hobbies is running, and I love running. Half marathon distance is what I really enjoy. And that requires a level of intensity of training. And so, as a full-time entrepreneur, parent, wife, all the things, I toyed with this is, well, when am I going to get this done? And so I tried waking up really early. Part of it was because I live in South Texas and it's very hot in the summer. It's really, if you want to run outside, only time it can be done is when it's dark outside. Otherwise, it's just too hot. So I tried this for myself and I realized I was exhausted rather than feeling full of spark and productive like all the advice I'd gotten. I was exhausted and I
Hmm.
couldn't function. I was ready. I needed a 2 hour nap every day, and it wasn't better for my well-being. And so, and I talked with enough people that I realized that, yeah, if this isn't working for me, then why am I doing this? I feel like I was doing it just because somebody told me I should, and that's the way I need to be successful.
So how did you pivot? What did you do next when you realized that waking up that early wasn't working out for you?
So I let myself sleep in a little bit, and I realized, okay, well, if this exercise is really important to me and 4 a.m. is not the time to do it, well, when is that going to get done? And having to work that into my schedule. And again, this is something that I hear my clients talk about, feeling like there's so much to do in the day and not enough to get it done. And yes, that's true. So we have to be intentional. We have to pick and choose. We can't do everything. And so if I'm going to get my run in, is that going to be in the evening or in the middle of the day? Again, since I work for myself, I can set my own schedule. And does that mean that I give up something else, like TV in the evenings or whatever that looks like? So it's really just about understanding what are my priorities, and sleep is one of those priorities. So I have to fit that in as well.
So a lot of doctors defaulted at early morning, right? Because during training, they have to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning to do rounds, right? So do you find a lot of your physician clients, they just default to waking up early if they want to get that extra productivity in?
I think it works for some people. And yes, I have friends and relatives who are runners just like me that's when they work out. But it doesn't work for everybody. And so that was really what I was trying to say with the article is if it doesn't work for you, then that's okay. And if somebody's trying to force a schedule that doesn't work for them, they're going to feel exhausted and drained and then feel this guilt like, well, what's wrong with me that this doesn't work for me? It feels like everybody else is waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and being successful. What's wrong with me? And so I wanted to get that message out that there's nothing wrong with you. This just isn't for everybody.
You mentioned that word guilt. Where are they feeling guilty from? Did you find that you had external pressures from other people if you couldn't wake up at 4 in the morning and get all that work done like a lot of other entrepreneurs? Where did you feel that guilt from?
Yeah, I felt it when I was in my previous role I was a medical director for a large health system. And so I did have enough people that would wake up early in the morning and get work done that by the time I logged on or got to the office at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, my inbox was full. And that's not a great way to start the day. So it did feel like, okay, well, if I'm not doing this, then I'm already behind for the morning. It felt like there was no way to catch up. There was no way to get in front of the work that was ahead of me for the day. And so it was a guilt feeling. And that's a big part of the book that I wrote a couple years ago, Purposeful MD, Creating the Life You Love Without Guilt, is that we don't have to feel guilty for these things. We don't have to feel guilty for getting the sleep that we need. That's a biological imperative. And we don't have to feel guilty for operating at a schedule that works best for us if that schedule does not include waking up at 4 o'clock.
So, how much is it that the culture of the organization that you're working in kind of pressures their leaders to all conform to the same schedule? And if you work for such an organization, how can you push back against that culture?
Yeah, I feel like it's very pervasive. I feel like it's each practice, each system, each organization is going to have their own subculture, and then within that, depending on the size, of course, teams are going to have their own subculture. But it's very pervasive. I see this in healthcare with my physician clients, this guilt for not having the same schedule. I'm seeing a little bit more flexibility now in my clients that are requesting alternate schedules. Like I had one client the other day who really wanted to work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and she was prepping for how to present this to her boss and her team. And so I think we're starting to see this concept that not everybody needs to be at the office or in front of the computer from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We can have some flexibility. People are different. People are going to have different styles and when different times that they operate best. And that's been really apparent for me too as an entrepreneur. There are certain times of the day where I'm more energetic than others. And so I know that about myself. I'm not going to schedule deep work or a lot of client work during the time when I'm have low energy because I just won't get anything done.
And I think this is connected with physician burnout, right? Because
Yes.
one of the few things physicians still have control over is their schedule, right? So if someone does want to work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., I think that they should be allowed to do that. And the fact that this physician client that you're talking about had to really prep to present that to the boss, to me, there's something wrong with that situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that particular situation, what did you do? How did you coach that client to present more palatable work hours to work?
Yeah. So in most situations where there's a client who has an idea of something that they want and they have to essentially get their leaders to buy into it and to sign off and agree to it. I always ask them the questions, well, if put yourself in your leader's shoes, what would you need to hear in order to make this a yes, an automatic yes? And so things like what's important to the leader, how can you make sure that if you're asking for whether it's a shifted schedule or whatever that is, that it's still going to meet the leader's needs, meet the organization's needs, meet the team needs. What are the benefits to what you're asking? So in a situation where a physician might want to work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., there are probably a lot of patients who would rather come in at 7 a.m. My dentist has 7 a.m. appointments, and I love it because I can go in and it doesn't affect my work hours. So there are probably also staff who would rather work that schedule. So start with what are the benefits to the team? What are the benefits to the organization that will make it an automatic yes? And so make it at least make it hard for the leader to say no to, because otherwise, if it's just couched as, well, I want this for myself, then it's the leader still might say yes, but it's easier to say yes if you're essentially selling it.
So you always have to frame your request in terms of how it best benefits patients and the organization,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you change your schedule and stop working those pre-dawn hours, tell us about how your creativity and your actual output changed when you worked at a schedule that was better suited to you.
So it allowed me to really see when I am most creative and most energetic. And I was really surprised by what I found because I had been forcing myself into this get started very early and then finish up around 4 or 5 o'clock. But when I shifted that, it allowed me to what I noticed was that the schedule that actually worked best for me is to get started a little bit later and go a little bit later into the afternoon and early evening because I have an energy boost around 4 o'clock, which was very eye-opening and unexpected for me. But once I realized it and I started just riding that wave, then I was able to get more accomplished during the day, feel more productive, but feel just more accomplished with myself that I was really working with my own body rhythms and needs, and again, not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
So for those physicians who perhaps have entrepreneurial aspects that they need to work outside of regular clinic hours, what's the process they can best determine what schedule works for them?
Yeah, I would say just try different types of schedules. Notice when your energy is low. And it's a natural thing. I mean, there's going to be things, fragmented sleep, exercise, food intake, all those types of things that are going to impact our energy levels. But just notice what your general trends are. If there are certain times a day that you're more energetic and creative and alert, then you capitalize on that, utilize that, try to get your best work done then. And then also notice, are there times if you're lower energy, then is that time for rest or a nap? Or are there other things that you can do that don't require as much brain power? And then just, again, as you're noticing, think of it like a scientist. Be curious about it. Don't judge yourself for it because we all have different rhythms and chronotypes. And so yours might not match somebody else's, and that's okay.
So I'm hearing one of the definite takeaways is that there's a spectrum, of course, of optimal schedules that physicians should aim for. Just give us some examples from what you've heard. It could be your physician clients of different schedules that work best for different physicians, just to give the audience an idea of what's available out there.
Yeah. So again, this physician that I mentioned, she worked best early in the morning. She was an early riser, and by mid-afternoon, her energy just waned, just really, really dropped. And so she wanted to see all of her patients before 3 p.m. so she could have late afternoon to rest and then evening to spend with her family. I'm a little bit of a later riser, and my morning is really for myself, my exercise, my journaling, my meditation, that type of thing. And then I work from about 9:30 till 5:30, 6 o'clock with a midday break. I've had other clients that they they are kind of forced into waking up and getting going at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and then work throughout the day and then find an energy boost around 8 or 9 p.m. And so they capitalize on that. Maybe they'll catch up on charts or do something else creative and they allow themselves to sleep in a little bit. So it's really interesting that and this is I probably a whole other show, but since the Industrial Revolution forced us into this 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, but not everybody's like that, and so and what works for you might not work for your colleagues or your partner or your kids, and so again, just noticing what those rhythms are and for to the best of your ability, utilizing them is going to be a better recipe.
We're talking to Laura Sutton. She's a physician executive and coach. Today's Kevin MD article is Why the 4 a.m. Wake Up Call Isn't for Everyone. Laura, let's have some take home messages that you want to leave with the Kevin MD audience.
Guilt is not required. If your schedule doesn't match everybody else's, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just you operate at a different schedule. And just try different things. Notice what works for you, what doesn't. And it's okay to iterate. It's okay to experiment.
Laura, as always, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and insight, and thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.